The Gloon is undoubtedly one of your favourite creatures to date, as you've probably saw those neophyte traps. And whilst it's had some recent considerable nerfs, there still seems to be a lot under the tin to suggest these still being a pretty monstrous creature to tame. The question remains, of course, how powerful is it? So first off, the basics. Let's tame one. You'll find Gloons pretty much anywhere there is a Revenant spawn on Lost Colony. Anywhere there's pink, you are more than likely going to see a Gloon. Weirdly as well, you'll find quite high levels spawning in a lot of these areas. I don't know why that's the case. There do seem to be more often than not high levels than low. And luckily for us, we've got a 145 dead ahead of us there. You'll see it patrolling. This one's got babies surrounded by Revenants. And if you don't know about the taming process, this is how it's done. You're going to take out the eyeballs and take out the Revenants. Wearing something so you're less noticeable is definitely a benefit. Ghillie by far being a great choice if you're planning to tame one. And honestly, you can't go better than a sniper to make this as quick as possible. So what we're going to want to do initially is pull over these Revenants. It will continue to spawn them, but we want to get rid of as many Revenants as possible first. It will continue to spawn them, as said, but we're looking to get shot of them as much as possible. And you'll see in doing so, you have alerted the thing to start searching in your direction, which is what you want. You want to pull it away from its hostile surroundings. Once you feel safe that you're ready to go, start shooting the eyes out one by one. And you're waiting for those lights to go out. There you go, like that. Right. Once that's done, as long as all Revenants are gone, you should be able to begin taming it. And if not, you are prompted now that there are more Revenants to kill. So hopefully before its eyes get lit back up, quickly kill all Revenants in the area and get back over to it. But its eyes are lit back up now, so we're going to shoot its eyes out again. Kill Revenants again. And hopefully now, there we go, we was able to feed it a ARK species seed, of which you can use. However, I would highly suggest to use kibble. It's going to be a lot easier for you to do so. However, once you fed it anything, it now becomes docile and you've not got to worry about any more Revenants spawning. You've simply got to wait for it to go hungry. And this is on 1x rates, by the way. So if you're curious what an R seed would do, 5.5 is not a lot, but basic kibble is a heck of a lot more. Of course, Sanguine Elixir is going to give you a giant bit of taming XP, bit of taming progress. And in this scenario, you might have noticed there are other Gloons nearby. These are all babies of this Gloon here, so we haven't got to worry about them at all because they're just babies. If there were other Gloons, I would definitely suggest to get rid of those first. Make sure you've isolated down to your one and only Gloon, or else you might be entering a world of problems. Getting one on its own is definitely key to making this a much more smoother taming experience. And if you don't know, you no longer need to crouch anymore. It used to be a requirement initially. They've now removed that. However, it does help to not scare it off by crouching, or else it might start turning invisible to try and get away from you, but it should still land. It should still become docile. You shouldn't have to worry about any Revenant spawning. And again, because we pulled it away from the Revenant spawn area, well, just enough, we aren't going to worry about any other adds anywhere else. And there we go. There's our Gloon tamed with some hopeful great stats for us to test with. By holding reload, we can check it within our spin wheel, and we can click on access shoulder pet inventory to check its stats. And there we go, we've come out with a very nice 43 base melee, and of course melee is the stat we're looking for. Capacity and regen are definitely two others to be mindful of as well. They're going to help you out for a few different scenarios. So what do these things do? Whenever putting one on your shoulder, first thing you probably want to do is make sure you've enabled slow fall. So you've now got a mini parachute. Definitely helps to reduce those issues when falling from any giant ledges, with which there are many of them on Lost Colony. And you've no doubt seen light bend camo, rendering you completely invisible for a period of time, completely camouflaged to your surroundings. And just to prove a point, Stuff will aggro on you if you literally go right up to them. It's not making you completely invincible. Flip product. However, you can get pretty damn close to anything. As long as we're not touching any creature, we're not going to aggro it. You can see here, like, that's as close as we can get without any issues. As soon as we get just close to its feet or lose the camouflage, that's definitely going to aggro it. So you're not completely invisible, but pretty much, right? Holding reload down again and cycling to the next option, you'll see a range of different options which can all do different things. So Bright simply allows to offer you a torch to see in very dark places, and you can adjust the cone to increase the range of how much light you're emitting. So to see in some dark places, this could definitely be handy. So Charge is the one I'm sure a lot of you have been using already, allowing you to debuff Reapers and Nameless. And if you don't know, also has a cone of vision. So if we change the angle down to 45, we can get this far before we can't use our light charge anymore. But if we change that field of vision to 15, we can keep that charge light on for quite a sizable difference. All the way back here, dude. That's the distance we can go while still emitting charge light to a Reaper. Look at that. That's a fair whopping range. Of course, you can just simply flick to cones disabled to emit charge light around you. You can then, of course, click to cones disabled to preserve that charge light. And worth noting, whilst out of charge mode, you're completely immune to flashbangs. So you won't be blinded by flashbangs, but there is a cooldown of 30 seconds before you cannot be blinded again. With that same charge debuff also applying to anything you're riding, which yes, includes a Reaper. So if activating that charge light, if activating that charge debuff, we can ride the creature and completely remove its effects as a one-off for 30 seconds. Also, holding reload, we can click on the option to auto mesmerize if on your shoulder, as well as changing it to certain creatures above certain weights. And what does mesmerize do? Well, to show you more, we're going to pop the Gloon straight onto our arm, of which we can then click reload to switch between the 3 different functions it's got. Mesmerize is a great option for those pesky manas in particular, because once hit, we've now prevented that mana from being aggressive for 30 seconds, as you can see from that little confused symbol on its head. I need to start using this way more unofficial, and can be used on multiple enemies at once, attempting to confuse both at the same time, but as you can see, we didn't have much time with that. So to increase the amount of time we can fire that, we're going to increase its charge capacity, allowing us to shoot for a much longer duration and confuse multiple enemies at once. And as you'd imagine, increasing charge regen is going to improve how quickly that shot recharges. Necrotic Mark will shoot out a glob that will aggro everything onto it, much like that dart. And as you can see, is represented by a cool Revenant skin whilst it's got the Necrotic Mark. I love that. It's a great little feature. And also it lasts for 30 seconds, giving you maybe some time to escape whilst everything else aggroes on that. But of course the big one is this I-Beam that a lot of you are maybe a little bit more disappointed by because of its most recent nerfs. Shooting within a certain range, this is about the range that we get, we can see it acting pretty much like the tech phase pistol. So the longer you've got it held down on something within the range that you can reach, you're going to see to do increased damage over time. And pumping that melee up. So what people weren't happy about with the nerf was apparently when not wielded yourself and while shooting just in turret mode, its damage was apparently calculated incorrectly and it was doing way more damage than it should have. In fact, probably the damage it should have been doing whilst only in weapon mode. And as long as you've still got plenty of Gloons, it is still a viable way to do those neophyte farming methods that you've seen before, but you're probably going to need quite a few more Gloons if you plan to do those level 300 neophytes. So when shooting at any target and continuing to shoot, it takes now up to 30 stacks of that damage to reach its maximum damage. So you'll see a base of 2 going all the way up to a consistent 30 damage on this Rex we're shooting here. With again that range causing to be a bit of an issue, but not cooling down too quickly, so you can still continue that maximum stacked damage. And of course, the bigger the capacity, the more of that you can do at once. At base level 1, we're looking at a very measly 0 initial damage, all the way up to 6, a stack of 6, which helps when you've got a Thyla around bleeding it out. With 40 points in melee, we're now seeing that damage increase to 2, all the way up to 19 at max stack. Bringing it up to 913 melee, we're now seeing that damage go all the way up to a stack of 50, and doesn't seem to be affected by mate boost. If we added a measly 4 mutations into melee, pushing that beyond 1k, we're now seeing that damage go up to 56 per stack. Killing a Rex pretty quick. And just to prove a point, whilst putting it in turret mode and not having AI special attacks on, i.e. mesmerizing, we're seeing exactly the same damage output as on your wrist, with in fact a slightly extended range. But fascinatingly, with a thrall, you'll find to do double the damage. Better yet, with a thrall riding a dino, that double damage continues on. With interestingly, that damage not quite stacking as much with a neophyte, in fact being somewhere in between. There appears to be quite a leap from the 1074 Gloons versus my 1032. So, just out of curiosity, we're going to mutate that melee a little bit more. We should see me kicking out more melee than the ones on aggressive. 81. And there we go. And we are now definitely doing 98 from 81. And it seems with multiple firing at once, you actually do more damage. Here's us with a few more mutations. Just slightly above these Gloons here. But once they all start firing, and I start firing, we see ours go up to 98. So this one dude here on our own, which remains at 81, and then changes to in the 90s when other Gloons are firing. So with that understanding, we've got multiple here, and a Alpha Acid on here. Hoping to see a vast difference there. There we go. We got one firing. Ideally, we want a couple firing at once, if we can. I mean, even solo, this ain't bad. At the cost of no bullets, it's decent enough tick damage. And I imagine, if I turn all these off turret mode and then whistle, just to finish it off, I'm still expecting to see great things. With them all pushing in, let's see those beams. They've got to get pretty close. There we go. This is still pretty decent. Okay. It's obviously still nowhere near the damage we were seeing before. The question is, can we put a helmet on these things? No. Curiously, you can do the exact amount of damage to a rock golem. So if I whistle the Gloon army on this rock golem, there it is. There's that damage. Wow. Look at that, dude. Obviously, they've got a cooldown, but wow. And not much health is slightly a problem, but that was fun to see. Good grief. Being perhaps a new way of taking down golems at the very least. That's giving me an idea. So my first thought was, try this. 10 Gloons in this arena. Lava Elemental arena. I'm curious how this one's going to go. There's our Lava Elemental boss. There's our Gloons. And they're off. Oh, wow. Oh, oh my God. Okay. That's big damage. Oh, that is big damage. Jeez. Doing some absolute work. Look at that. Oh, and he's done. With us finishing him off from the rear. Oh, wow. Yeah, that was fun. I need to test something else. Can we mesmerize the lava elemental as well? No mesmerizing available. But good grief, look at that damage fly down, dude. That is feral. And for some reason, the golem cannot hit those gloons as much as he's trying. Oh, there we go. We got one hit in. Oh my God, yeah. Well, there we go. So that would mean can't mesmerize, but they are doing what they are doing well. Oh, wow. And the queen is struggling to hit them. Oh, look at that. That is evil. Dude. Just for reference, I don't think I explained this. Each one does have 1200 damage. That was me obviously pushing it, that damage a little bit more than before. Obviously this is a how powerful are they, not a how powerful are they when they're weak sort of video, right? So just for your reference there. Yeah, that's feral. So I guess in that case that would mean, how do we get on versus the brood mummy? The world boss roaming brood mummy. This one has an alarmingly more amount of health. Let's find out. And can we mesmerize this one instead? They're all coming. There they are. We've stunned her. And they're putting in work. But she's definitely hurting them back. Oh, hang on. Shooting necrotic mark to try and get the other spiders to aggro on her. Oh my God. Okay, but finally coming to do some bleed as well. Wow. No way. We got a wild thyla to bleed out the brood mummy. That is fun. But the gloons are going down. That's a lot of health, man. There's a thyla bleed again. Doing its thing. We're going to get webbed again, but we'll move in. Move out. Kicking out a cheeky 238. It's not a surefire thing. Not by a long shot. In fact, I don't see many left there. And I think we might have just lost them all. But at the very least, I could do this, right? Oh! Brood mummy is confused. Well, there we go. We got a Carno coming in for a bit of bleed as well. Why not? We'll do some I-beam. Switch it out to another necrotic mark once it's finished reloading and get that damage in with Carno. There we go. Carno's offering a bit of bleed to help. Hell of a lot of health that is. Just realising how close to death we are. Oh, almost. Almost. There you go. Let Carno to do its thing. Get a bit of bleed in. Flipping heck. Get another necrotic mark in if we can. Oh, I love that. Look at that. And then there's a Carno doing its bleed. I love that. That's amazing. Get a stun in to confuse it. I think there's a thyla down there now. Yep, there we go. And there we go. So hopefully now finish the job. Oh, there we go. That's fun. That's a fun fight. A bit dicey. Oh, thanks to the dossier. A bit dicey. And maybe a bit of a concern of what we're about to test next, right? So I think we know how this is going to go. But, you know. Gotta be done. But one thing in particular I'm interested in is this necrotic mark. In fact, what we'll also do, turn invisible. Which doesn't turn our tech invisible, it seems. And the brood mummy is still seeing me, even invisible. Okay. And in fact, I've just realised the Gloons did not come in with me. So that's a bit of a bust. They don't TP into buses. However, you are allowed one. Let's just test out this necrotic mark and see if it works in a bus fight. So what I'm looking for is once all the spiders have spawned in. That's them in. Right, shoot you. And hit you. Right, sweet. Do the spiders fight you? Can I mesmerize you? That looks like a no. Gotta be pretty close to hit that with the beam. Ain't gonna be a problem once there's a few of these. I was hoping maybe we could aggro the ads onto the brood mummy, but it doesn't seem like it's working. And with the ads continuing to aggro, yeah, we're gonna struggle. So if we can't use Necrotic Mark to reverse the minions on the boss, which is kind of expected to be fair, that pretty much cancels out a lot of the different bosses and some ideas that I had in mind. There are still some ideas I've got in my head. Let's see if these work instead. Assuming the problem why they won't go into boss fights is because they're technically a flyer, well, there's one boss you can take flyers into, can't you? But let's see how they get on. Go on, squads! Will these guys take on a Manticore? And good to see they do definitely TP in. Oh! And they're off! Doing some great beam damage there from distance, from range. It's a good chunk of health taken off. This is, of course, only gamma. Oof. Oof. Well, that torpor damage does do wonders. But would you look at that? Oh, that's fun to see. That, you know what? He might put them to sleep first. I'm curious. Who's going to make it? Oh, look at the beam, bro. Get me out. Look at the beams going off. That's a third health gun. To get him away, Deathworm. Oh, what a sight to see. They're doing well. They're tanking well. Oh no, I spoke too soon. That is one gun. Oh no, they're dropping like flies now. Oh, they're dropping like flies. Down to only a couple now. Oh, there it is. Shot it out the air. Damn it. And that's half health of Manticore. It's fun to watch though. Alright, yeah. It's the Nupwa. I think this all but confirms it. Necrotic Mark doesn't work on bosses. And I mean, I guess it wasn't gonna, right? Alright. 100 Gloons versus a King Titan. That's not there yet. All rocking that 1200 melee with a few points into stab on top to see if they'll shoot enough beam to kill it before it knows what the hell to do. Who's gonna win? Will it be the one-shot trick ponies getting an attack, or will the King Titan swipe them before they can even get close? Who's gonna win? Will it be Gloons or will it be King Titan? Will they even get any damage in at all? Oh my god, that's a bad start right there. Will they even make it? Oh my god. Oh, and there's a shot. Luckily, an obstacle was caused. Can we cause a distraction for a second? There's 2 Gloons dead already. And here comes in a thump. Taking them all out in one shot. I think. Did they all die? They didn't. Beam's going off. Damage is being caused. There's the beams. Oh my god. I mean, they're dead now. But holy crap. They went down fighting. And that was about it. That was all they had. They got their one trick in, taking him down to his knees. Well, oh, it was worth it. It was worth the setup just for that, eh? I hope you've enjoyed this. If you did, you know what to do. Comment below and let me know. We might do another one. Another How Powerful Is. Which creature do you want to see me testing out next? Until the next one, my name's Raasclark. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, peace out.